Hola, hola, buen dia, todo el mundo. Why did I speak in Spanish? I don't know. So new change in scenery. Getting crazy in this quarantine time, changing recordings in apartment rooms. What? Anybody else thought I was as funny as I did? No? Okay, let's just get into the good. uh, Today's Rev of the Day is brought to you by Luke chapter 10. Um, so this is this story of when Jesus was talking to a religious leader, and the teacher was asking him what he has to do in order to get into heaven. And this is from verse 25, chapter 10, verse 25 in Luke. Just then, a religious scholar stood before Jesus in order to test his doctrines. He posed this question: Teacher, what requirements must I fulfill if I want to live forever in heaven? Jesus replied, What does Moses teach us? What do you read in the law? The religious scholar answered, It states you must love the Lord God with all your heart, all your passion, all your energy, and your every thought. And you must love your neighbor as you love yourself. I mean, from the Passion Translation, the way that they rephrase this verse 27, which is a very widely stated and quoted verse, which usually says, love your God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul. I think some translations say, but this one says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your passion, all your energy, and your every thought. And I thought that was interesting because I don't think like a lot of, at least for me, sometimes you say, oh yeah, like love God, and like Christians like make it sound like this easy thing, but loving God sometimes it requires a lot of work. Loving people requires a lot of work because you know why? You have to die to yourself. You have to die to your emotions. You have to, sometimes it takes energy. It says with all the energy. It takes a lot of energy not to cuff people down sometimes when you really want to cuff them down. But you have to love them instead. So, um, just keeping it 100, as always. And it says with your every thought, love your God with every thought. And that really struck me because if I really take a survey of all thoughts that come through my head, a lot of times, like, let's say like it's anger, something I'm like angry with, that happened, and I'm angry with God about it. But if I choose to love God even in that thought, like say is, I don't know, somebody cut me off on the road, and or let's make it more personal, somebody like pissed me off, a friend pissed me off or something, and God calling me to love this person, and I'm like, no, but he or she got me mad, and I'm mad at you too because you were asking me to humble myself and go apologize to this person, or be the bigger person. And but if you choose to like look at every thought that you have from the perspective of, okay, how is God calling me to love even in this moment, in this situation? And how is God still showing me his love through this situation? It would affect the way that we think about stuff, and like think about how we look at God. Because instead of like thinking that it's like coming from the perspective of like, oh God, like choosing to punish me or just trying to aggravate me for no reason, it's like, no, he is still loving. Like he wants me to still love this person because that is what he would do. And learning to love this person when I don't want to is exactly what being a Christian is, right? Because that's what Christ did for us. Like we all the times, we don't love God well all the time. Let's be honest, but he does it. So, so love your God with all your heart, all your passion, all your energy, and your every thought. And you must love your neighbor as yourself. A lot of times we can't love our neighbors well because we don't love ourselves well. And again, I think I said this yesterday, but the same judgment and criticism you feed towards yourself is what you would feed towards others. And so, more and more every day, I'm just beginning to see the importance of love, but godly love, and that is why God keeps emphasizing it, and He says it's the greatest commandment. And then Jesus said, "This is." So after the religious leader quoted all of that, Jesus said, "That is correct. Now go on and do exactly that, and you will live." Exactly, yeah. And wanting to justify himself, this scholar that is, he questioned Jesus further, saying, "What do you mean by my neighbor?" It's always the religious leaders, It's always, I feel that's like a point in itself too. It's always our logic and our humanness that want to always get in the way of what Jesus telling us. Anyway, so this scholar wanted to justify himself. He wanted to make himself right in his eyes by asking Jesus, "What do you mean by my neighbor?" He most likely said that because he was already being partial to some of his neighbors. Because then Jesus goes on to tell the story of the Good Samaritan. That a priest walked by. It had a Samaritan lying down on the ground. He was robbed, beaten up. A priest passed by. A religious man, a Levite, passed by. And a temple worker passed by. All of them passed by and left the Samaritan just there. Sorry, it was a Jewish man. Sorry, I'm mixing it up. The Jewish man was on the floor, and the priest passed by, the Levite, and the temple worker, and a Samaritan, who was a people group that did not like the Jews. They were at war with each other all the time. He passed by and saw the man bleeding. Stopped, take care of him, put him on his own donkey, disinfect his wounds, bandage it, took him to an inn, and told the innkeeper that, here, take this money, take care of this man, and if the bill comes up tomorrow, I'll pay you the difference when next time I'm here. And then at the end, Jesus asks, out of all these people, who was the man's neighbor? And the scholar replied, the one who showed him kindness and mercy. And then Jesus said, go forth and do the same. What really stuck out to me there, again, this is a story that I've heard multiple times, but what really stuck out to me this time was the fact that the man wanted to justify his actions, which I think, now reading that text, is most likely not loving his neighbors, which is everyone, right? Regardless of religious affiliation, political affiliation. Hello. List all the other things that we allow ourselves to be divided by as humans. And he knew that was an area that, again, he was showing partiality to people of that group. And he wanted to justify him being partial to that group by asking Jesus, who is my neighbor? Because he really wanted to see if he could have still, not really love these set of people. But that made me think about myself, how many things in my life am I trying to really, kind of justify, they don't believe the same as me, so I could kind of not treat them right, or it just made me think and reflect of that we keep missing the point a lot of times. We still want to focus on rules, that we're not focusing on just following and being Jesus, being the person that sacrifices and puts others in front of us, and really loves God with our everything, even if it sometimes he asks us to do something that would seem countercultural, because it was very countercultural for a Samaritan to fraternize with a Jew. But the man didn't care about culture or public opinions. He had mercy and compassion, which is what we should all have towards people, and then he took care of the person as a fellow human being. So, yeah, that was just a sombering and poignant note that hit me from that passage today, and I wanted to share.